Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Priorities Program. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Priorities Program. I'm really excited because today we are with 3 young guests and they're talking about a topic that's important to them and is their priority. So welcome to the program, boys. Thanks for coming. And can you please introduce yourselves to everybody?
Hi, my name is Yunus Emre.
My name is Ahmet Tarık.
And my name is Abdullah.
Great. Yunus, Ahmet, and Abdullah, thank you guys so much for coming today. So when we first talked about this, I asked you guys what is important to you, and you chose a really interesting topic. So you wanted to talk about bias in Islam. So why this topic?
Actually, we chose it because we see that in normal life. We see that even on social media or on news, there are lots of people like commenting or doing bad comments, like criticizing Islam, because they don't really know the facts of Islam. And when they see wrong information about Islam on social media, they don't even search it. They just add their hate speeches or their bad comments. And I think this is the biggest part that Islam takes damage.
Yeah, it's definitely very damaging to Islam. So, I mean, social media is an international platform, obviously. And so definitely we see that there's rises of hate speech and Islamophobia and even attacks worldwide. I think the statistic for every positive piece of news that we hear about Islam in the media, there are 21 negative pieces of media about Islam. So there's definitely a bias. We see that. Let me ask you though, the bias that we're talking about, we acknowledge that we see it internationally. How about within Turkey? Have you guys experienced a bias here in Turkey?
Unfortunately, yes.
So what does that look like?
It generally looks like someone doesn't know what Islam is but living Islam. So he starts to hate speech or hate on the thing that he thinks isn't Islam, isn't part of Islam.
So what can we do? I mean, because 98% of Turkey's population is considered Muslim. So why is there a problem there, Ahmet? Why are we seeing a bias, or why are we seeing even Islamophobic rhetoric within Turkey? Why is that a problem?
Because everyone doesn't know Islam, but everyone wants to hate speech about Islam. And they are trying to show Islam as a bad thing in the media. So, everyone hates them, and everyone hates Islam in the end.
I'm curious, do you think that people within Turkey, let's say, that are participating in this hateful commenting and hate speech and Islamophobic remarks online, do you think they really believe that? Or do you think that now it's become trendy to hate Muslims? What do you think the origin of that is? Is it?
Well, I actually partly agree with you, because people, especially teens, if people start with non-Muslims or they want to hate Islam, they go on this side because it's just like you said, it's trendy now. Mm-hmm. And I think this is not the all of the part. They don't know really good about Islam, and this is why they actually try, they hate Islam.
So the topic of knowledge keeps coming up, right? Because they don't know the truth, or they don't research the truth. How do we know who to trust? How do we know what the correct information is? How does somebody, I feel like especially now in the age of social media, when one post can be so damaging, right? Lies spread very, very fast. What do we do to protect ourselves against not even wrong information, but not misinformation, disinformation? So this intentional spread of lies.
Firstly, we need to use correct sources, trustable sources, so we get the right news.
What are examples?
Maybe Diyanet.
Okay.
So it's the official, the religion side of Turkey. So this is the best source we can trust and count on.
Okay, so for gaining religious knowledge in terms of rulings, we could go to Diyanet. Okay. What about just in terms of weeding out true and false media reporting? Is there a way that we can protect ourselves from that?
I think that another way of doing and understanding which source is correct or not is asking Muslim communities. It's like the Muslim communities doesn't exist, like they're not something that can't be seen. You can see Muslim communities and talk with Muslim communities online. You can find their groups on Reddit, Instagram, and etc. So if you try to talk with them, and you know, there's always different sects and different understandings of Islam, but of course some of them, and at least if you try to maybe join on multiple groups and try to get their ideas, then maybe you can understand which source is trustable, which source is right or wrong.
I think that's a really good, important point, Eunice, because one of the things that we've seen statistically, globally, is that after any sort of false media reporting or even like terror attacks that have happened, we always see an increase in people becoming Muslim. And the reason this is happening is because people go out and they end up researching, right? And so they understand the truth. And I remember specifically after I became Muslim, I remember my mom started to look into Islam a little bit. And I remember she told me that she was going to go to, there was somebody at her church, I think, that she was going to ask. And I remember saying to her, Mom, you wouldn't go to a doctor if you need a dentist. Like, why would you go to a Christian to talk to about Islam? Like, go to a Muslim. Like, I can get you in touch. And I think that's such a good point, because if you are curious about Islam, like, go talk to Muslims, right? That being said, I think it's really important that as a Muslim community, we take that on as a responsibility and we advocate for ourselves. So one of the things that we know Allah says is that He will not change the condition of the people until we change ourselves. And we see this repeatedly over the history of Islam with many of the prophets, for example. So Musa alayhi salam needed to lift his staff before the waters parted. Hajar radiallahu anha, she had to run in order for Zamzam to come forth. Allah could have just given it, but He required the work. He wanted the work, right? And I think that we need to do work as our community. And we have to acknowledge that, yeah, Islamophobia and bias is a problem, but there's also a problem that we have. Like, we have to accept responsibility. What are some of the solutions? We say that knowledge, for example, researching, you guys have made that clear. We need to take more responsibility. But what else can we be doing in terms of youth organizations, or maybe advocating for ourselves, or establishing programming? Do you guys have any ideas?
Actually, maybe we can try for example, for non-Muslim people or Muslims that have question marks on their mind, we can go easier on that. For example, when they have a problem or a question, we shouldn't be like, aren't you a Muslim? Don't you know that? We need to be like more polite, and like, if you do that, you will go to hell. We shouldn't do that. Like, I think we should do it like, we need to give them the love of Allah, not the just scare.
And I think, Abdullah, that's a beautiful point, because actually I think that what you're articulating is actually, that's the truth. Like, we know Islam it's the middle way, right? And the best example for talking about Islam and how we should talk about Islam is the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, right? And Allah told us that it was His kindness and it was His mild manner that brought people to Islam. And if He was hard-hearted, that people would not have ever approached Islam. So He's the example. We should be acting like that. One of the things I do want to ask you, though, as I'm going to say, a peer to you, like somebody who is older than you, as a parent, also a teacher, what can I do, what can we do as adults to support our youth, to be an ally to you, to help raise you guys up, put you in positions of advocating for our community, advocating for yourself? What support do you need from the adults?
I mean, it probably would be in the education part, because what youth needs is education, because they have misinformation, as we just spoke. So we need to raise the children or the youth from the very beginning. From like, education starts with parenting. So we need to start by teaching parents Islam, or teaching in schools how to be a parent, and then what Islam is, so that in the next generation they can teach what Islam is to their children, so they're raised upon what true Islam is, and when they're youth, they understand what Islam is. So everything goes by education, to be honest.
Okay. Amit, so you guys do go to a religious school. And I'm assuming if your families and you guys have decided to go to religious schools, that you guys are coming from practicing families. So what needs to change specifically then in the home or in the school system that would make it more in line or better in terms of a bigger support for you? Because you do have Islamic education and you have practicing parents, I assume. So what can change on it?
I think parents and school change, both of them should change, because parents are not really they are not looking for their children. They are just giving them their phones and they are not making a good parent out of it.
So there needs to be parental support as well. Okay.
Yes.
If you guys were given the opportunity, it's inspiring and it's good for me to hear from the youth that this is important to you and this is something that you experience. But in general, do you think that the majority of youth are like-minded? Do they feel like you? Do they feel like there needs to be a change? Is it important enough to them?
I think actually they don't really think about Islam. I think people live like there is no religion at all. Some of people that, so I don't think they try to do something for Islam.
Okay, how do we change that? How do we get the youth to think more about Islam?
I think it would be like what Abdullah said, actually, teaching the love of God to them, because they believe that religion is something not the point of the life or not your aim in the life, but just a thing that stands there to protect you when you fall, or just above your head and you just see the God sometimes when you need help. No, religion is your way of life and your aim of life. God didn't just create you, and you don't just think that, oh, God created me, so what? You love God because He created you, because He created your parents, because He created the beauty and He is the beauty Himself. So we understand from these things that if we want someone to love the God, we need to teach him what God did and what is God Himself. If he understands what God is and what is love of the God, and why are these people just not there, why are they offended when someone says something to their religion, and why do they aim for this religion and the ummah and not for their worldly gains? If they understand these things and if they work towards Islam, then they will actually work towards Islam and they will try to change something.
I think that was so beautiful, Yunus, because I think that exactly what you said. I think that it's our responsibility to all of ours, but as a parent and stuff, to hear that and to hear that that's what you need and that's what we need to hear. And I think it also is it's motivating for me as a teacher and as an adult, because I really truly do believe that you guys are our future. And I feel like that we're in a really difficult time globally as Muslims, but also nationally within Turkey. And I think that it's really important that our youth are going to be our future. They're going to be the future of Islam. And I think that your ideas are so important. And that is the passion that when I hear, it makes me so hopeful that that things will change for the Muslim Ummah. And it's really important for me that I think that I want your voices to be heard, but I want them to be heard on YouTube, and I want them to be heard by any of the administration that would listen, which is my suggestion, is that I think that you guys need to be included in terms of youth projects and initiatives and organizations on the government level. I think that youth should be involved and you guys should be asked, and in terms of programming and education and all of your ideas. I think that your ideas are so important. I think it's one thing to ask adults what we should do for the youth, but I think it's something very, very different for the youth to say it from their own mouths. So I pray today that you guys will take these thoughts that you've shared with everybody, and that you will not just let them out into the social media world, that you will say and decide that this is important. And whether it's today or whether it's in the future in your jobs, but that you guys will continue to inspire others. And I do pray that other youth are inspired by you, and I pray that other adults are inspired by you guys, and that we listen to your voices, and that we make you our future, because I really believe that you guys are our future, our youth is our future. to help you guys always remember that Islam should be our priority and the love of Allah is always priority, we have got you guys something. So our program name is Priorities, öncelikle, right? So may this be a way that you guys always remember, just that Islam is always important and Allah is important.
you.
There you go, guys. And thank you guys all for tuning in. I hope you found the discussion beneficial. I hope that you follow the lead of these boys and raise your voices and speak against hate, speak against this kind of racism and Islamophobia and bias. And just remember, our youth are our future, and let's work together to celebrate them. Assalamu alaikum.